6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And of those 360,000 vehicles, over 150,000 were going 12 or more miles per hour over the posted speed limit. And then even looking worse, over 100,000, so 2/3 were going 15 or more over. So speeding is a huge problem. We've had 3 fatalities since the last session on that stretch. It's a tremendous drain on our first responder resources, so much so that there's been other bills in the state legislature to get state police to come down and patrol the interstate to relieve pressure on BPD. In 2020 calendar year, there were 1,700 calls for service for BPD. We did look a little bit into some other precedents out there. There was a pilot program in Scottsdale, Arizona on a locally controlled control access freeway 101. It was an 8-mile stretch. They put in, I believe, 8 cameras. There was an 88% decline in vehicles traveling 11 or more miles per hour over the speed limit. And when they studied it, they observed speeding reduced on neighboring stretches of highway that didn't have cameras as far as 25 miles away. The pilot program also, more importantly, observed a 50% reduction in crashes and a 40% reduction in crash-related injuries. So these things really do have the potential to be a huge public safety benefit to the people who use 83. And that's a lot of Baltimore City residents, but also a lot of commuters from neighboring counties. So it could really benefit, a lot of people.
So Liam, a quick question. There were 3 fatalities since the last session. Does that translate to an approximate number of 3 fatalities per year?
It doesn't. So, it ranges, right? So, but when the best data we have that goes over multiple years is a study that was conducted by Washington College with MDOT, and it was from 2014 to 2018. And over that 5-year stretch, they identified 50 what are classified as severe injury crashes. So not everyone died, but they were life-threatening injuries. We even had an instance, one of the reasons why we can't do traditional speed enforcement is because long sections of this interstate are an elevated highway. There's not much shoulder capacity. Right. And we had an incident where there was a crash, BPD responded, and a car crashed into a vehicle as the police was responding. It threw the police officer over the elevated highway. They survive, but it's like that's kind of the danger we're talking about. It's not, the interstate was the first interstate that was built into the city. It doesn't meet current day safety standards. And some of the feedback we got last year was we had to tighten up where the revenue would go. So the way the bill is drafted is any excess revenue would be remitted to the comptroller, that would then go to SHA, that would then go to roadway safety improvements on I-83 within Baltimore City. So Baltimore City would be working with SHA. We do have a number of things that our Transportation Engineering and Construction Division have already identified as safety improvement things. One of them is a high friction roadway surface.
Okay.
So there's a lot to this.
And Liam, refresh my memory from our last call, which I think was last week, or I guess it was last Monday. This is not unprecedented. There are a lot of other states that are doing speed cameras with proper signage. It can be done safely. It can be done well. It can be done safely. It can be done. I know a lot of times folks will always say, "Wow, people are going to hit their brakes and somebody's going to get rear-ended," but it's proven that we can do this on a highway safely. Is that, because I know that was one of my big questions last week.
Yeah, I think the Scottsdale, Arizona pilot program, and then along with what has been done in Washington, D.C., those are great examples. And we're really, it's about changing driver behavior, getting folks to slow down. I know people want to get to where from point A to point B quicker, but a lot of times these crashes result in congestion that otherwise wouldn't have been there.
Right. So, okay. Well, are there any, I think we'll probably have this maybe on the next voting, but I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to listen, to learn, to talk, to ask questions, to weigh in on the bill. But we'll probably have it on the next voting session. Any questions from anybody? No? Okay. Were you waving or did you have a question, Delegate Jacobs?
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So you said there were 1,700 calls for service from the Baltimore Police Department, I-83, right? And you've asked Maryland State Police to help assist with that. Is that what you said, or?
Well, that was a separate. There were some representatives from the city delegation that were pushing for that. That wasn't anything Baltimore City DOT was pushing.
It was a bill that was in last year.
Oh, okay. So is this effort to put cameras up, is that to lessen the burden on the police department? Is that part of the question?
That's going to be that's going to be one of the chief benefits we feel. Reducing speeding. Speeding is the excessive speeding is the leading culprit of crashes on the interstate. So if we reduce excessive speeding, thereby reducing the amount of crashes that first responders need to respond to, there should be a benefit to Baltimore City Police, Baltimore City Fire, most definitely.
And yeah, and also, I think Delegate Jacobs, one of the takeaways that I got from our meeting last week on this is that because it's elevated, enforcement is just much more challenging and much more dangerous.
Yeah, I would like to add too that Baltimore City Police Department has submitted favorable testimony. And I believe the FOP is also supportive as well. They were last year, at least.
Delegate Jacobs, are you good? Did you have more questions?
So refreshing my mind again on the fatalities on currently named Indian Head Highway, where we I guess we passed similar speed camera bills a couple years ago.
Yeah, we've put a few in down there. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think we have anybody. I don't know.
And that's where they were racing, and part of that, I think they were doing some racing on that road. And there were multiple deaths.
I think that on that particular road, there's a lot of general opportunity for speeding. And then a few years ago, there was a speed contest with a bunch of teenagers. And
yeah,
I think that a lot of people getting killed on that particular situation. Delegate Harrison, do you know more about that?
And I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I know that I believe that in 1 year, we in a couple months span, there were probably maybe almost 10 deaths. Some of them were multiple fatalities from 1 or 2 accidents, but right. There was one where almost an entire pretty much an entire family was killed. Another one where there were, several of them, including children who were in the car. I mean, it's just that one was bad. And I imagine that I-83, I'm not familiar with I-83, but I imagine based on, the testimony that we've heard, that it's probably a similar situation. And I'm not sure if I follow all of the controversy with it, especially if the police are supportive of it. So,
yeah,
I'm just trying to look at, you brought it up as a comparison, so I'm going to look at the comparison. If it's 3 deaths on 83 since last year, and what was the fatality? I mean, I don't want to see anybody get killed, believe me, but if you want to compare apples to apples, we got to do apples to apples and not, we got to talk about what the numbers are. So
yeah,
that's enough.
I do know that my understanding is, Delegate Jacobs, to your question, my understanding is that one of those years, and Andrea, you might know, I'm sure you know better. I don't know what year it was when they had that speed contest where
Yeah.
like a bunch of kids got wiped out in one evening. So I don't know. If the numbers
I
are
remember
exact.
that, and I think that's what the real nexus was for the bill. But I mean, I remember they talked about it back then, that the death count was pretty significant. It was double digit every year, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, and I think that yeah, it's pretty bad. Anybody else? Patrick, did you want to add anything, or
I'm good.
we're good? Okay.
Yeah, what,
Yes, sir.
here talking about, Indian Head Highway and all that. What are we doing with that bill?
I'm working on that. I'm working on that bill. There's I think what we're going to have to do on that bill is come up with some kind of mechanism, with Patrick is working on, and I've talked to the chair, to figure out how to best have the community weigh in on what they see as most fit to voting on that road in their community. Because I know when Delegate Walker came in, he came in with one idea and then kind of changed the other idea. And I spoke with him as well, and he's like,
I
yeah,
like the other idea better, but yeah,
well, I mean, we'll get to that. We'll get to that
Yeah.
eventually. But I'm in the annex with Delegate Walker, so we've chatted multiple times on it.
right.
He kind of agrees, like, we should be on a local level, really should have a big hand in what.
Yeah, I
we
agree.
propose.
So let's put a mechanism in place so they can go take care of that.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're
Yeah.
working on. We're working on
Mhm.
that. All right. Is anybody else? Otherwise, we'll have more. We're probably going to meet 2 or 3 times more. I know we have one already on the books, but we'll probably
Mhm.
have 1 or 2 more as we finalize these bills to get them out. Otherwise, thank you, everyone. Any questions for the good of the order? No? Okay. We will be in touch with our next meeting. Thank you.